Uh, it still sounds like you can hear something. All right, let's try. Let's try this one more time. Make sure this sounds good before we go. Monitoring off stops it. I think we got it now. I think it was the gain. I think we're good. Okay. Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Another King Panda Studio dev stream. Tonight I'm going to be working on a game jam project that we submitted recently, and hopefully we're going to actually turn it into a legit game that we're going to hopefully sell later on. So we submitted this in January, and we've since then decided to take this game and kind of flip the story a little bit and reuse some of the aspects of the game and just kind of turn it into a full legit game. So, reason being that the theme didn't really fit what we were doing very well, so we decided to just kind of scrap the whole theme idea from the game jam and actually just take what we had and turn it into a full story driven game. So that's what I'm hoping to work on a little bit tonight. We can show you the switch here. We can show off some of what we got so far. I'll have to fix for TikTok users. It'll be a little challenging to see. All right, there we go. All right. Kind of regret not having my music set up the right way, but I thought that was what was feeding back into the microphone. So I'm gonna get rid of the headset though. There's no point in having it on now since I can't hear the music. All right, so kind of just talking a little bit about this game jam. Most game jams most game jam games typically probably should stay as a game jam, um, unless you're going to alter it. I mean, you only have like so many weeks to crunch everything in, so the outcome is not generally something that you're going to be able to uh, fully easily convert to a game. I'm not saying you shouldn't. Absolutely, if you have a base of a game, you should try to. Most game jam games, I feel like, usually are submitted and then die. Unfortunately, even the good ones. Um, there's a rare few that actually convert to a full game and make it to market, which is really cool when those happen. So, game jams encourage wild ideas and for you to kind of trial and error different things, which is kind of how this game um, came to be. Let me see here. Get this set up here. So the main thing that we kind of were struggling a little bit with, our game jam, our game ended up being 89 out of 129. Although we did get first place in art, so that was actually really cool. And I think that got announced since the last stream that we had. Um, but we did get 89th out of 129th, and mainly the primary area was the playability. So the core loop, if the game was playable or not, and how fun it was. I'm not gonna disagree with those judgings. Our game really struggled in some aspects, so we decided later on in the game to um, not only utilize turn-based combat, but turn-based combat with like some other features that we didn't have before. So we really had to add in some more features later in the second week, which is not ideal. Generally, that second week, if you're doing a 2-week game jam, that second week you're wanting to um, kind of refine what you have. And my problem is always I want to add more, and that's usually a problem with every game in history. Um, so we added too much, and our playability score suffered for that. But we weren't really in it for the win, anyways. We were more in it for learning experiences, which we did. We learned a lot of flow logic, like how our flow is designing a game. I learned some stuff on the game development and systems designs section, so that was really cool. Um, so yeah, now we're just turning this into a full-on game. Now, what do we need to do that? Uh, we're turning this in from what it was, so I can kind of show you where this started. Um, let's see. We have, oh my goodness, I can't even remember where it was. I have all these things set up here. I tried to originally group all of the scenes together, so there should be a scene here somewhere. Nope. Well, I can't even remember what it was called. I thought it was scene one. Oh wait, it is this one. Okay, it just looks different because everything's kind of like shown at this point. Um, I wish I could toggle these off, but I don't think I can hide these since they're like shown a certain way. No, doesn't look like it. So the idea here for the game jam, if we go ahead and play this, you'll kind of see that you start out in this room and you go to these doors and you would activate certain fights. We didn't put a lot of work into this part of it. You would answer these narrative questions, and depending on your choices, would end up leading you down certain paths. So this is what the game ended up being around the submission time. So you can kind of see we can do some attacks and whatnot. We can defend. Not all of this ended up making it in. We got portions of it created. What I lacked in the game jam submission that got judged was the subtleties, the things that matter the most, which were little animations like that guy sliding forward and backwards, and him flashing red when he gets a hit. So just that little flash right there was just little things that we should have really touched up on for our game jam entry. Even the defend, when you defend, he turns blue. Those are little subtleties that we really should have fixed, but because I was trying to add in more to the game, we didn't get to add those things. I also was failed to add any sound effects, which isn't such a bad thing, but sometimes depending on your game, sound effects can make and break a game. But my theory was on this that this is a game jam and it's meant to be a prototype and not a fully uh, flushed out game. So uh, that's kind of why it ended up being the way it was. It still was really good. We learned a lot from this. We built some really cool stuff. I had never built a turn-based game before. And the way that I typically do my variables and everything behind the scenes in the coding world, where people don't typically find interesting as much. The way I structured the game design itself was interesting. So there was a lot of cool stuff that came out of this game jam, but all in all, just there were some glaring issues, and our score reflects, I think, accurately about the playability. We really should have focused on the core loop that we had. So I kind of show you what it was that we added that didn't make it into the game, and I hope I remember the selection correctly. If we do this, I think we do don't respond. Nope, I don't even remember which of the choices it was. Let me look here. We actually have the scenes. Okay, here we go. So here's one of the choices. It leads to this scene here. In this scene, we have two enemies fighting your character. So this is the part where I added. It was originally meant to be 1v1, but my artist was wanting to do multi-selection. So adding little features like allowing you to select which creature you're going to attack and then actually attacking that creature. While it sounds really easy, the code was already written, so it's a little hard to actually add in. Wow, I did a crit of 32 on that one. That seems broken. Okay. Um, so yeah, adding multiple enemies ended up causing us to lose out on a lot of development time. And I think honestly, as much as it sounded better to have it in there, I think it really hurt our playability score, and it showcased how unrefined the game was. But it was good to add overall for the end goal. So now the end goal is, all right, so what do we do with this game that we already have that's got really good bones to it? And we really want to push out an actual game. Well, we decided to take this game concept and turn it into something that we've been dying to actually make, which was a gladiator game that we've been talking about making for a while. So in this now, you're going to have the ability to select. You'll go to a base camp. You'll train your character. You'll increase its stats. You'll then select a train, or I would say a fight board or something like that. I feel like there was an actual name we were actually going to call it, but it's going to be the board that you select their fights from. And then you'll select the character you're going to fight, and you go in there, and you would have a turn-based gladiator fighting system, just like this, and you would fight whoever it is that you've selected. There will be the stuff for skills, which we don't have any skills. You can see it even says it right here right now. There are skills in the game that currently work. It's about the only thing that works because items for some reason do not work. Sorry, I'm a little sick this week, so let's forgive me. Uh, we do have skills working. I did get really tired, so you'll see full at the end of this. I got into a Mr. T phase for some reason. I got so tired, but we can equip um, abilities, even the test skill, which is the best one, and um, we can close the store full, and then we can go back to one of our missions and then select, fireball or something like that. So these are going to be in here. We're making a high fantasy, sci-fi, futuristic world, which I don't see a lot of. Um, I would say Warhammer probably is the closest thing that I can think of off the top of my head. Um, I don't know. Is there anything else that's high fantasy, futuristic? I feel like there is. I just can't think of what it is right now, like at all. But I know it's like on the tip of my tongue. I feel like there's something um, that has like elves and orcs and stuff that's futuristic, high tech. Oh, anyways, um, if you know what it is, you can always let me know. Um, so yeah, that's what we're going for. We're going for a gladiator game. You're gonna be going back to your home base, upgrading your character, selecting the missions, going out and fighting, and you'll progress through a storyline. We'll also have companions. That's something that is new, that did not enter our game jam because it wasn't part of what we had in scope for this. So we're going to add companions. So just like that fight scene I was just showing a little bit ago where we have two characters that you have to fight, we're going to have multiple allies. So you'll have the ability to heal them or um, add buffs to them or something like that. So that is a piece that I have to build out, which is a companion system to have them over here with you. Um, the enemy system I think is fairly already made. Maybe we expand on it by letting them like buff each other or give each other healing items or something. Haven't really like fully went out uh, and designed that entire aspect of the game. We're really just trying to get the different areas of each game or each screen focused and converted. So uh, that's kind of where we're going with that. Let's see. Uh, all right. So let's go ahead and close this. I'll tell you something that was actually interesting. We actually struggled pretty severely right before our game jam entry. Uh, I felt like our game had an identity crisis. Uh, so originally the game, when we first actually submitted it, or were talking about submitting it, I might even be able to pull up my Obsidian. Um, I have to show you kind of where we were going with this originally. Let's see. We have Game Jam Trial and Player Journey Map. So this is part of our uh, design document that we created. Um, I was still working on this as we were actually already submitted because we were trying to figure out some stuff. But this is our journey map. This is honestly one of the coolest things that I think we've done in a while for documenting our game. Um, this kind of walked you through because this was a story based game, a narrative based game. Each door you went through would ask you questions, a moral question, and those would have innocent or guilty verdicts tied to them. And once you picked them, there would also be a secondary response where they would ask you something, and those would also have a value associated to them to determine if you were innocent or guilty. Um, why that's cool is those innocent and guilty verdicts ended up leading you to fight either innocent or guilty, the thing was, when we originally designed the game, I wanted to build almost like a detective mystery thing. And I didn't want the player to actually know why your character was on trial. As we started to actually like go through this, it made more sense. Like, we kind of like sat there as we were about to submit it. And we're like, well, it doesn't make sense for the player not to know the crime at this point because of the way we structured this entire game. So we had this situation where we weren't trying to tell parts of the story. So this whole section of the second dialogue didn't even exist. All these questions here that kind of helped tell the story, they didn't exist. We only had the first moral questions, which are very vague and didn't convey what was actually happening. They kind of hinted at it, but the idea was originally that through those hints and through some other mechanic, you would figure it out what it was. We decided not to go that path. So we had identity crisis for our game. Um, it's funny, I didn't even realize that until about the time that I think everybody is aware of High Guard and its situation. So High Guard came out right when we were actually doing this game jam, and I submitted, or I actually entered into that game, and started playing it for a little bit. Played a few rounds. I didn't play much of it, so my opinion may be a little skewed here. But what I observed from that game was, in my opinion, as a game developer, I felt like it had an identity crisis. From what I could observe, like, it struggled to let the player know if it was trying to be a MOBA or a hero shooter. Um, Obviously, I felt like it had some shooting aspects that were similar to Apex, um, but it really wanted to play like a MOBA. And for the fact that only 5 people could be in the map at a time and the maps were so big, it just, in my opinion, didn't make much sense. And I feel like that game had an identity crisis, and that's why I feel like it was struggling. And I noticed when I looked at that and realized what they were struggling with, I think I finally realized what we were struggling with as game designers was the fact that there was an identity crisis. We had an identity crisis. Our game was trying to be two different things at the same time. We were trying to be this vague murder mystery game and a turn-based, you know, story narrative game. The problem was, in the story narrative game, we didn't have enough story because I was trying to hide it. So the game just didn't make sense. So we struggled a little bit with that. So we had to merge those ideas into one cohesive design choice, which is what led the secondary questions to be generated, which was actually really cool. We actually got to add a little bit more dialogue. It helped with slowing down the pace of the game. That was one of the feedbacks that we got, was the pace of the game needed to slow down. Um, it was way too fast. You could just go into a door, start a fight, and move on. So we heard that, and we talked about it, and then I think that was kind of when we made the decision of, okay, well, it feels right. That's what it feels like. So we need to make a change, and we did. Um, it is funny though, because I hate it for them. I thought the High Guard game was a cool idea. It just struggled a little bit in certain aspects, but their game helped us realize what we were lacking on. So it was a good experience. And that's why, it's important, if you're building games, to play games. Um, you see things, learn things from other people. So, um, yeah. So, I mean, like, one of the most dangerous things is trying to protect, um, a design idea. You can't be so uh, hardened about it. Can't be so stuck on it, stuck in your ways. If you have a really cool idea, but the rest of the team is developing a game in a different direction. As fun as you think that idea is, or as cool as you think that idea is, if the game is kind of veering into a certain direction and the team is veering in another direction, it's best to just let go of that idea. I know it's hard because it's like something that you want, and I feel like this is very true for um, a lot of like ragtag teams who get put in game jams together. They want their idea to be represented in the game. The problem is the cohesive uh, joining of ideas from all these different people ends up steering the game into different directions. So you really have to be able to let go of your idea and or make it, you know, integrate into the other team members' ideas. And that's kind of what we had to do. I had a really, flushed out idea of like what I wanted, but the rest of my team had a whole nother vision. And it didn't make sense for me to sit here and be like, well, no, no, no. So what we did was we just took a look at it and said, well, how can we kind of integrate these ideas together and make them flow? And so that's kind of what we did. Um, it is hard, and sometimes you can't do it. Sometimes you have to scrap an idea altogether, but you have to be willing to let go of those ideas. It's very, very important. I'm not saying always give up on your ideas. Make a case, plead it, prove it. But ultimately, if you feel like the game is going another direction, your team's going another direction, you gotta learn to let go. I only say that I've experienced for a few other game jams. This one wasn't really like that, but I have experienced that in other game jams where people's ideas are overshadowed, even mine, or they didn't match uh, the cohesive nature of the rest of the team. And it is what it is. So, uh, yeah, I say right now, um, like I mentioned, we're kind of rebuilding this game from the ground up. Well, I wouldn't say from the ground up. I mean, we're using a lot of what's already here. One of the things that I did in this game jam to kind of make development faster, you can see all these like little battle scenes. That's because there's a bunch of choices. So they're like level one, choice two, choice three, choice one. So because of that, don't ask me why I did this. It was just the faster method. I made the player as an entity, and that player existed as a different entity for each level. So, like, if you go here and click on player, player is completely different than the player here. That means the stats are different. Um, Everything, like, it's completely one off for every level. I should have never done that. That was a terrible, terrible design choice. It worked for a game jam. There are things that work for a game jam. Could I build a game the rest of the way like this? Absolutely, I could. Is it the best choice? Probably not. It causes you to have to like be very meticulous in what you're doing. Um, and as we convert this to a full blown game, I am not going to be doing this anymore. So one of my first steps is taking this player fight GD script and taking it up one hierarchy level. We're going to take it up to the player manager and tell the player manager, which kind of already does this a little bit. Player manager is going to have the overall stats, and what we're going to do is we're just going to spawn in the player asset. That's normally what most people do, but for this game jam, when I was originally building it, I just kind of threw this in here. Um, so it worked, um, but it won't work going forward. So that is one thing that we're gonna do. I did the same thing with enemies. The enemies in this aspect are gonna be okay. Um, so as we build each level or fight, each enemy is gonna be unique, in my opinion. So the enemies having the stats on them as an entity, I don't think it's bad. So like if I dragged out this goblin enemy, he should have the same stats as always. Um, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. I don't know if he does, but they're only going to exist in the one scene. So the only time I need to have cohesive, uh, persistent stats for entities is the player and your companions. Everything else, it won't matter. So let's see here. Uh, so is the core loop of this gonna be fun? I hope so. I don't feel like the game that we had originally was very bad. Uh, I think as we continue to build it, um, we just have to make sure that it plays fun. So right now, uh, some of the things that we're adding, I mentioned earlier, was uh, we're adding a base camp area where you can unlock new areas and train and upgrade your character. So we're gonna have the shop where you'll be able to click on stuff, which we kind of already have a shop. We'll have a training area where you'll increase your stats, and then I'm calling this missions right now, but it's not missions. It's fights. Um, what else would it be called? Uh, I don't know. It's almost like scheduling, I guess. Scheduling a fight. Uh, I don't know what you would call that, but anyways, we're just gonna call it missions for now. It doesn't matter. So you click on this, another like board or something will pop up, probably an overlay, and it will display all the characters you're gonna fight, and then you can select those and say, hey, I'm gonna go fight this guy, and then you'll head to the shuttle. The shuttle is where you'll like load out, so you'll re-equip spells and weapons. So like I mentioned, this is a high fantasy, futuristic game. So uh, think high elf, wood elf, whatever you want to call them, magic, but futuristic with like I don't want to say lasers, but think spaceships and stuff like that. Cybernetics. There you go. Cybernetics, spaceships, spells. So you got like all of that. So it's high fantasy, futuristic, sci-fi. So what I need to add um, for us to be able to do this and finish this game. We have a small team. It's me as the programmer, and we have an artist, and then we have another guy who's with us, who is our mainly. We kind of use him. He kind of helps with the stories. So he's been helping, write stories that we don't typically think of. Um, he's wrote a few different short stories. They're really cool ideas, and he's been kind of helping us with that. So that's our third member. Um, he actually designed a lot of the original core ideas for this and storylines to some effect. Obviously, we injected our own ideas and we kind of just made it cohesive and integrate well with each other's. So I think we have a really cool idea coming up. It's just we got to get something ready. And what's even better is this has to be ready, not the full game, but a demo of this game has to be ready by May. So we're talking May, uh, into May, really, because we're wanting to showcase this. Hopefully, if they'll let us at one of the conventions that we're going to. Sorry, I'm still dealing with some sinus problems. I don't think I'll be on late tonight, but anyways, let's see here. What do we got here? Let me take a look. I have to mute this one. We have been going on for, what is it, 38 minutes? So, um, yeah, because I don't think I'm gonna be on super late tonight. Um, let's see. I don't know. I tell you, uh, hey, uh, been getting into playing some other games and playing World of Warcraft again. I never thought they'd fix that game up the way they have. They've added so much, and it's really cool seeing that, knowing what it was. Uh, I was really worried they would never be able to progress that game any further. Um, I appreciate the things they've added though as a game developer. Like I'm like, wow, I bet that wasn't very easy to do. But I mean that goes for a lot of games. There's a lot of things out there. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Um, so yeah, so we gotta add the player manager. WoW is still alive. Yes, it very much is, and it's actually extremely fun. I gave up on it for like 2 expansions, but it's absolutely still alive and it's still going on. Still going strong. Let's see. So we have our player, and we have the manager, and I don't even remember what I had in here anymore. Oh boy. I really need to set up and make sure that our characters are still going to be able to fight in here. So it really just needs to be uh, you played it when it released. Yeah. Um, I, I played it in Burning Crusade, and I played it for several years after the fact. Um, and then I quit and came back for a little bit, and then I quit again, and I haven't played it in the last few years. Um, I almost came back, but I decided I had some credits um, in my BattleNet wallet, so I decided to go ahead and shoot for it. Wasn't doing anything else, anyways. All right, let's go ahead and add this guy in here, and I think we should be okay to add our player. I'm gonna add the players. They're gonna spawn in on the spawn point, so I have to eventually add that in. But I'm gonna have to rewrite all of that, and I don't know if I'm gonna rewrite it on stream or not. It's gonna take a little bit to redo that entire section. Let's see. I don't think. I think if I remember correctly, it's been a few weeks since I worked on this one. I think the battle engine has what generates the UI elements for this. Did you quit playing after it released? What am I working on now? Yeah, no, we're just going to continue working on this game jam to convert it to a full release. So let's see. Need to add player manager. Is this like Street Fighter? Um, no, no. I mean, not really. I would consider this more what's a good Final Fantasy, I guess, in a sense. It's gonna be a turn-based combat game. It's high fantasy, super uh futuristic, so sci-fi. So think elves with cybernetics. Um, there's gonna be magic. There's gonna be um different creatures. Actually, let me go ahead and show you one of the scenes that we had. Not that one. This is one of my favorite characters right here. Let me turn the grid off so you can see it a little better. So we got this avid, this bird. He's got a. See if I can't zoom in here. He's got a little cybernetic like scouter. So, yeah, turn based. The game jam entry that we submitted was you were accused of a crime and you're fighting manifestations. But now that the game jam's over, we're converting it. We're throwing the theme out the window, and we're just turning it into a gladiator-based game. Almost think Thor Ragnarok. with the arena, but you're going to be fighting high fantasy characters. So I don't have a lot of the scene setup. That's currently what I'm doing now. But you'll go back to your base camp. You'll like train up, and then you'll go back and fight characters. We're gonna add companions into it, so you'll have companions that you can gather along the way, and you'll get new power ups. Um, which some of that's already in here, so that's cool stuff. Um, we'll probably redesign our dialogue system a bit, but uh, we did have dialogues in there. Yeah, I don't see a lot of high fantasy, futuristic things. I was talking about it earlier. I feel like there's something on the tip of my tongue. I feel like I remember something like that, but I can't think of one right now. Let's see. Yeah, we won number one in art, but 89th out of 129 entries for playability, and I can't blame them. We tried to crunch in too many uh, features at the end of the game jam on the last week, and we really should have just refined what we had. That was our mistake. Not to mention we were still dealing with the identity crisis, which I was talking about earlier. Um, we had two conflicting ideas, and we had to figure out how to make them integrate into each other or get rid of it. Yes, we will be keeping this style. The artist for this actually, uh, us as a studio, we have a book. So we're about to launch number two. We haven't announced it officially yet, but we'll be launching number two this year. So we have Nullified Issue 1, which is the comic book. Our artist made the art for the game and for this, obviously. He's the author and creator of this. He did design to print all of this for the comic book. Um, he's got a very unique style. It's really cool. Uh, his art is just really awesome. It gets only better. The stuff that he's coming out with in book two is just absolutely insane. But yes, we will be keeping the same art style. Um, he is the one that made this art for this, all the backgrounds and everything. Yeah, he's very good. He's actually one of my best friends. Known him since I was really young. Um, he's really good. Uh, yeah, unfortunately for the game jam, I mean, it is supposed to be a prototype, so a lot of this he didn't like render or like finish out. So I told him for like the backgrounds, I was like, "Hey man, don't worry about being perfect. Like just give me like your sketches and like colored in." So that's why the lines here look really rough. I don't even know if I have this guy his rendered version. I don't know if that's his actual version or not. I was so tired at the end of the game jam that I don't remember. Yeah, see, I think that looks different than what's in here. Nope, it might be the same one. I had a rougher version at one point. He's a very perfectionist, so I have to get on to him sometimes and tell him, just give me what he got. It doesn't have to be in the final build, but I need something to showcase what it's gonna look like. So he made all the UI also. That's one of the things that we've been working on a lot is getting UI elements and reusable assets developed so that we can use them over and over again. Uh, he actually owes me art for a card game. We have a card game out too. Let's see. We got the player. I think these are all sprites. Yeah, we got sprites here. Scripts. Probably should have put these on here better. I'm still learning organization. You can tell. Let's see. I know one of these should be the player. I might end up looking. There it is. Player fight. Yeah, see, okay, I didn't think that would be it. I bet I have to bring in our battle manager. I took a really good break after our game jam, so uh, it, coming back to it, I'm gonna have to figure all this out. If interest. No, and you're not distracting me at all. The game jam was 2 weeks long. We had our concept built in the first week, and we really should have just moved on from there and just continued working on with what we had. But my artist said he really wanted me to add in some stuff, and I don't know how to say no. So one of the things that he wanted was we originally just had it one enemy, one player. Um, he wanted me to add the ability to have multiple enemies, which I wasn't against, but I decided not to do it at first because it would have been a little bit more challenging for me. I've never even built a turn-based game before, so this in itself was already a little challenging. Um, Not even to add like, oh well, now we need to have an array of enemies who have spawned in the game, and I have to track their health and update the health based on who gets hit, and then update the UI. So um, instead of polishing what we had, I crunched in the different things that he asked for, and our game jam suffered for it. Um, but it's okay because we weren't in it to win. We were in it to learn, and I learned quite a bit from this. So ran into a lot of bugs too, but that's how things go. You can even tell how this ended up being a one player because once there's multiple enemies, there's no more enemies. There's only one. You don't get a selection for who you're gonna attack. It just attacks. And that's because that's how the game originally worked. Um, the extra enemy was an add-on thing, so it only checks if there's multiple enemies. It starts doing the extra logic, which I think worked really well. I know some games will give you the option to select even if there's only one enemy, which sometimes doesn't make sense, but this one doesn't. Let's see. I don't know what I'm missing. Oh, okay, I know what it is. It is this canvas layer. Yeah, it will be on Steam when we fully release the game. Right now, the Game Jam game entry is on itch.io. Think I can. I think I can link it in the chat. Um, so if you're interested, you can always go check it out. There's a lot of stuff missing out of that version. For instance, like some of the things that we didn't get to add. I just updated it after their judging was over. Um, was little things that we really should have added in early on, which was sound effects first of all, and then just little animations like him jumping forward and them turning red when you get hit. So like just that little nudge right there. Those guys sliding forward and then flashing red. Um, we didn't have those in the submitted build. They should be there now, but when we submitted it, we didn't. Even this defend when he turns blue wasn't in there. Uh, Funny enough, I actually had a really big issue with this scene here. I did a very bad math decision for determining how you would do defense. So in the original game, the one that got submitted, everybody complained about this fight here. This guy had 120 health, and the only time you could hit him is if uh, he if you could only hit him if you crit. I've since changed that. At least I hope I did. It should be changed. Um, and I also changed the way defense works behind the scenes in the math. Um, so it's supposed to, it was supposed to be a scaling thing, but I couldn't really get it fully working. So I just kind of made it some version of scaling um, in some aspects. It's not the best thing in the world, but I just wanted to showcase what we wanted to get available, um, what we wanted to submit, really. So after the game jam ended, I submitted this new entry that you just seen, and that showcases what it was we were trying to showcase, um, which wasn't much different than what was already there. But yeah, everybody complained about this guy. 120 health. It ended up being like a freaking 15-minute fight, and it was very boring. And I can't blame anybody for it. And it's my fault. I even thought I fixed it and replied to somebody saying, "Yeah, I think it's fixed." I didn't fix it. I screwed up. So that's fun. It is what it is, though. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Um, like it should hopefully be fixed now. That's the idea. Let's see. See, I think I didn't have the combat UI. I don't know why it's not. Oh, okay. I know why it's not called. Okay, all right. I think I'm actually gonna change that. I don't like that at all. This is one of the things that I am still getting better at, or trying to get better about, is changing the base nodes so that when you pull them into another scene, you know what they are. Like that little ad right there. Now I know what it is that showcases uh, the combat UI. So now when I delete this, instead of saying canvas layer, hopefully when I add it back, it's going to say combat UI. There we go. Just things like that. Like a huge improvement right there, because I know what that is now. I have problems of just adding things like that sometimes, and it just says node 2D, and it's like, well, what is that? Like that one right there. Even though it's not from an inherited scene, it didn't say anything about sprite 2D. I know what it was, but should have really said background. So let me see. I don't know. Let's just try to run this. It should check generally. Okay, so I must not have maybe a player manager attached to this or something. Or the battle engine. I don't think I screwed it up. I probably did though. There's a high possibility that I screwed it. Oh, I know what it is. I added the player in. This is exactly what I gotta change. So I gotta take the players like stats and move them up into another hierarchy. This should always read from player management what this is. And right now, what it reads is, if I remember correctly, it reads what this is at the start. So everything's set to 0. On ready, we set player stats. And that is down here. And we read, yeah, so we are telling the player manager what our stats are. I'd say it should be backwards. But I did it for the game jam for that specific reason, because I wanted to adjust the players' stats for each level. And now that we're not doing that, I don't need to do that. I need to go the opposite way. So basically, set player stats need to be whatever the player manager is equal to whatever the player has. And I really shouldn't even have to do that technically. I feel like I should probably, I could probably just not do that. I don't really know why the player himself actually needs the stats that I can think off the top of my head, but it's already integrated in that way, so it ain't gonna hurt nothing if we just flip this. So let's do this now. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I already seen it, so we're gonna go ahead and fix it. The problem is I got some of these that are set to functions. Forgot about that. Mainly because sometimes the reason why there's functions is I planned on adding, even though I knew this wasn't gonna make it in the game jam, so I really don't know why I did it this way. I was just trying to like future proof it. I wanted there to be a way that you could set the player's like health or damage modifier based on whatever like scene he was in. I never got around to being able to utilize it, but for instance, there was a slime scene. Let me see. These guys are here, and depending on whatever option you picked, I really wanted the ability to like give the player like a debuff essentially, and that would affect the stats. So that's why the script is written in a way that he's reading his player manager, and or the player manager is doing a set here. I think we can just probably get rid of that though. Comment it out. I don't usually care too much to stream all the coding part because nobody usually finds it as interesting as the art piece of it. I wish the art artist would stream. Uh, his stuff is a little bit more entertaining generally. Let's see. Uh, if we think the player manager should have this in here. Really? You do game dev, don't you? What if you do? What game engine do you use? Max, mana current, mana max, health max, health current. Oh yeah, here's our combat stat. Player manager is a global script though, so the thing I learned you can't even see because it only shows up in the active run. Trying to do game dev is a better description. Everybody's trying to do game dev. uh, and JavaScript for web games. Yeah. Um, no, I mean, don't feel the imposter syndrome or anything like that. Everybody's trying to do game dev. Um, there's a lot of people out there, even me. I've been doing game development for oh shit, uh, 10 years through multiple different game engines and over the years, and just been trying to figure out like what it was that I was doing. Um, I'm always jealous of the people who seem like they can just pick up game development and make a game in a year. But I'm not one of those people. And it actually took me until recently when I was at my last job that I understood architecture a little bit better. I always knew how to code, but not great enough to understand like code architecture. So I felt like that helped me a lot in understanding what it was I was designing. Um, in fact, the last stream that I did, I had a whole conversation about why I stopped working on my previous game and did this game jam, and it was all to do about architecture. So, um, yeah, I had the whole architecture for our games all wrong. Uh, Problem is a lot of tutorials, and this is something I learned as I was doing game development. A lot of people tell you this too, and you probably felt it as you went through some. I feel like tutorials, they start out and they just really try to get you into making game mechanics, and that's what everybody usually jumps into. And what I found I was always struggling with was I should have built the game the way a game is played. And what I mean by that is I should have started with the screens first, the menu first. Like I know everybody creates a menu, but like truly build out the full menu architecture. Why is that important is something I never really wanted to deal with, which was UI scaling, screen scaling, viewports, audio, huge one. Um, so every time you're watching a tutorial, you're just like, oh yeah, I got this cool game, and I can show you that the game works and all these mechanics work. But as you start trying to add sound, or try to add in scene changes, or depending on what game engine you're in, it might not be called a scene, it might be called something else. Level change. Um, you end up running these issues where you have to almost hard code all these changes because you didn't architect the design correctly. Um, doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but it's so much better for you not to have to worry about that. Uh, and I still fall victim of it sometimes. You know, this is the way it is. You can't be the best architect in the world, but there are little things that make a huge difference. And for me personally, that was the menu system. And for instance, I'll show you what I mean by that menu system. Uh, Let me look for the global manager. So I started a project that just had this global manager in it. And what it was is it had a library for all of my, well, I added this FX library and music library, but um, it has, wait, maybe I'm not thinking the right thing. Oh, no. Okay. So it references our scene. There's some stuff in here to change scenes, change levels, essentially, is what that is. I don't remember what Unity calls it. Um, so, like, for instance, Unreal Engine calls uh, them levels. Godot calls them scenes, and I don't remember what uh, GameMaker calls them. You're on the other stick came from database and executive software. Now doing games. Architecture is easy for me. See, I wish I would have been that way. Um, I wasn't. I came from, I would say, the opposite end of you. I actually came up doing programming for microcontrollers for factories. And uh, basically, if you ever heard of a PLC for like manufacturers, I programmed PLCs and robots on the factory floor. And I eventually moved into software and doing software as a service, SaaS, or we had it as a platform, so they called it PaaS, PaaS. I don't know, weird acronyms. Basically, it was just middleware for all these systems that don't talk to each other. And I was on the development team for that. Not like the actual like core development team. I was more on like the front end, like client side, like setting up stuff for them. But still a lot of code involved, and I worked closely with the engineering team, so it's very interesting. Scenes in Unity, yeah, yeah, scenes in here too. Um, yeah, what was cool about this was I ended up having the scene dictionary, so now I can add my scenes in here. Um, I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this, but this is, in my opinion, the best thing I could have done for myself. Having all my scenes in here and just being able to call it, it was such a huge, huge monumental thing. Why games? Why games? So I've technically been designing games since my buddy's been drawing art. We started out, he drew Goku. Um, and it was like, I don't even know what grade we were in. We were really young. And I knew at that point that that guy was going on to be like a great artist. And the only thing I could really do was really make games. I know this sounds crazy, but I actually designed Zelda the Four Swords before it ever came out. I designed not the entire game like they had it, but I designed Zelda the Four Swords. Um, and then a few years later, they came out with Zelda the Four Swords. I wish I still had that paper. It was really cool. I had a whole game design document I wrote on it when I was in elementary school. So I've always wanted to make games. In 2016, me and my buddy actually decided to work on a mech game. We've killed several game ideas over the years. We decided to work on a mech game called Project Eon, which hopefully will eventually make its way back around. We decided we bit off way more than we could chew and decided to scrap that idea. And then over the years, we've been building games here and there, um, to the point I made a card game, not even video games. I made an actual card game, and he made his comic book. So it was actually just last year we actually decided to found King Panda Studios. So uh, we actually did that for real. We kind of been just calling ourselves that for a long time. So I guess the same question. Why games? While I struggled to figure out what it was that I was doing with this guy because he has some issues with health. Player manager. Let's see. That. That's not right. If you can make card games, you can make a good video game. That's the idea. um, I really didn't think the card game was gonna be that fun, but um, we partner with a nonprofit organization called DOS Alliance, and they help kids who have issues with socialization and stuff, and they take them and help them meet friends and teach them story building and stuff. But they play D&D and a bunch of other card games, um, and they let them play our card game, and they had a lot of fun. We took it to a couple of conventions last year, and we actually sold out of our prototype decks at one of the conventions. And people generally say they have fun with it, which is shocking to me. They really didn't think it was going to be that fun, but it's cool. Let's see. I was literally just looking at this, and now I can't find it. Oh wait, because I'm in the wrong script. Yeah. What a silly guy. What a silly guy. I remember what I was doing now. Yeah. Just getting lost in the sauce. That's what I was doing. Let's see. So we were going to take. Problem is, the player now, their player manager has to have all of the stats. So I think I'm gonna move these up. I don't like having it down here. It doesn't seem right. Hmm. It'll be great when I get over these sinuses. That'll be amazing. Let's see. Um. Yeah, basically, just trying to get this set up so that we can utilize this. So hopefully by next time I stream, I'll have this working, where you can click on the missions and actually select something, and then go into uh, this scene here, which will change over time. We're gonna redo all this, but this is our placeholder assets for now. And you'll be able to select different enemies to fight. So this guy will always swap out with the enemy spawn point. So he'll just show up over here or something. So somebody will just pop up, probably up here. Need to fix those a little bit. Oh no, stop moving all that. So what are you working on now? Is my question to you. If you're working on anything. All right. So let me think about this. We have our player, and we have our manager, and I need to set his base damage. All right, we're going to say base damage max is equal to player manager dot I don't really like this, but we're gonna do it anyways. Uh, just called base damage. What? I don't believe you. I feel like I'm gonna have to change some of this code for sure. I don't feel like that makes sense at all. Oh, shoot, sorry. Just some mobile games, web games. Got a bigger project in the background, but mostly just getting off the ground. Do you have a main social channel? So I suck at social media. We primarily use Facebook, uh, and we post videos on YouTube and TikTok. Um, I'm really wanting to get somebody to help us with our social stuff, but primarily we do Instagram, Facebook, and then we do our videos on YouTube and TikTok. Um, I have sometimes reached out and done some stuff on X and on Blue Sky, but the way we kind of operate, granted, we're just now like fully launching since last year. We have a convention season, so our convention season typically runs from March till the end of September. So that's when we go out and into the real world and and go meet people and fans and stuff like that. Well, I say fans, but hopefully there'll be fans this year. We met a few people; they were very interested in what we were doing. So, um, returning customers, honestly, is what we'll hopefully go be meeting at these conventions. And we'll be selling our book and card games and showcasing hopefully this demo at the end of May. I have another demo too that is also mobile. I haven't shown it off, nor will I show it. Um, but well, I will show it eventually when it's ready. It's nowhere near ready. It's a really cool idea, and I don't want to get anybody too hyped up if I don't understand the technical aspects of it enough to actually fully realize it. But it is freaking sick, and I got really far on it really quickly while I was transitioning from this game jam to coming back to work on this. So in between there, I built that like right after the game jam ended. I came up with this idea and I just started making it real fast. And then I took a break and I've been playing World of Warcraft and watching TV with my wife and just relaxing. Um, and now I'm trying to get back into this. So stream it every Wednesday is what we're doing. Try to keep myself in check. Usually do. I'm thinking of going over today, but usually doing about 45 minutes to an hour, maybe longer depending. And then I think we're gonna do once a month. We're gonna do a studio update stream, and then we're gonna try to take clips out of those and just post those. Is it just you working on yours, or you got multiple people? All right, we're gonna go max health is equal to player manager. I might have to rewrite all of this. I do not like the way this is all done up. I'm gonna end up redoing it later. So that one we do have health max. So that's good. We're gonna say current health is gonna be equal to max health because there's no point in calling the player manager again for that when we're literally gonna set it. Well, you know what? I said that, but I said this earlier, and that there might be a reason we um might want to call that me and my wife, but she is a web designer, so just me on the games. Hey, that's cool. No, that's really dope. Uh, so if so, she's doing web design and you're just working on games. That's dope. I tell you what, solo dev is difficult. I'm sure you are very aware. I'm rooting for you though. That's really cool stuff. Like I said, I've been doing game development stuff off and on for since 2016. It's been about 10 years. I've used Unreal Engine. I've used Unity, uh, Game Maker Studio, and Godot. I actually had this chat with some people in another stream the other day. There was a big conversation about the use of what engines for what. And while everybody has their own preferences, and that's completely fine because you build in whatever you're comfortable with, In my opinion, um, I really like Godot for 2D projects. I think it just works really well, and I love GD script. Um, Game Maker Studio was kind of cool. Problem that I had personally with Game Maker Studio um, was when you started getting into like collisions and physics and stuff, um, and especially like signals. I don't know. I struggled with some of that. The game engine itself didn't seem to really care for wanting to make those things work really well. I think it's good for lightweight games that are very easy concepts, like a platformer or a side scroller or something like that. Maybe um, auto clicker for sure, easy auto clicker. Um, but I like Godot a lot. Unreal Engine obviously is like a big 3D game. I would never personally try to do a 2D game. I would do a 2.5D game in Unreal Engine. I noticed you are not using AI much, or is that on another screen? AI much. So I use AI to usually clean up my spaghetti code, um, and help me document what I've written. I also use it to help me debug, mainly. Um, I occasionally might use it for some other things every once in a while if I really am struggling with something, but primarily I get very irritated when I get too far into a project, and then I'm like, okay, you just gotta clean this up. Like I'm tired of looking at my garbled mess of like you. Okay, what you'll see eventually over time is I'll have stuff like this where I just commented all this stuff out, and then I'll come back through here and I'll write something else. Like I don't know, I'll copy this whole function out, and I'll be like, yeah, okay, well, you know what? I'm gonna comment this out, and then I'll be like, oh, but I'm gonna be smart about it, and I'm gonna comment this out and say 21626. You know, like I commented this or I blocked this out, something like that. You know, and then I'll have a bunch of these just sitting around everywhere, and then it becomes like I don't know, freaking 150 lines of stuff just sitting around, just commented out, and I'm like, oh, well, that's hard to read. It's not very useful. I think the only thing we're missing now is I don't have technically I don't have a base damage. Yeah, corpse code syncing up the place. I got lots of that. Yeah, yeah. I run into it a lot. Um, I also struggle with half baked ideas. You know, I'll get like somewhere. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm gonna do this, and I'll start like writing it out, and then somewhere down the line, I realize that that was not the right way to do it, and so I'll just like I won't delete it. I'll just leave it alone, and I'm like, it's not gonna hurt anything to leave it there because I'm not calling it, and I might use it later, and it never ends up getting used. So I just have functions that sit around and never get used. Um, I'm not against people using AI. I personally don't like using it too heavily because of hallucinations. Like I've tried this. I've actually tried to make a game fully with AI, and it pisses me off. Um, it'll create functions that don't exist, and then when you're like, "Hey, this function doesn't exist," you can't do that. It's like, "Oh yeah, you're right. I did make a function that didn't exist. Thanks for catching that. Here's a corrected version," and the corrected version will still have this function that's being called that's never actually being used. I can't stand it. And it will just like create random things. It'll do random things too that just don't make sense. I'm like, why are you doing that? Like, and it's probably my fault as a prompt engineer, I guess is what people are calling them now. But I feel like I try to give it as best guidelines as possible. And I've used Claude being the best code AI is the best one. And it still has problems with that. So I don't trust AI too much with my game code. Um, I might have it do some very basic things, usually cleaning up my stuff though. That's primarily the big one. Like, hey, I got this spaghetti of pile of crap. Can you help me clean this up? But I tell people that with any AI, like if you're in school and you're writing papers, um, there are so many stories of this where people were like, they were trying to write a book on the Mockingjay or something, um, and they'll just tell AI like, "Hey, write me an essay, 1,000 words on this book," and it spits out a very generic piece of work that's easily like AI. It doesn't even sound human or sound like you. And I'm like, that's not how you use AI. If you're really wanting AI to help you, you write your paper and then you give it to the AI and say, hey, this is all the context that I have. Can you please help me fix it? In my opinion, that is the best way to use AI. It is very helpful with supporting a user, not doing things for a user. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it won't ever get there, but it's not there right now. It is a really great advanced like uh, Google Assistant, you know, or what were those things called a long time ago? Uh, shoot, what were those things? They're little pads everybody had. That personal assistants, uh, devices or something, PDs. I coded it by hand for 30 years, and then AI came along, and now I can use it to wet clay machine. Is it like a wet clay machine? It gives me the base, but then I gotta fix it, clean it, and turn it into what I wanted, but still makes things go. Oh, 100%, it makes things go a lot faster. If you have, in my opinion, if you have some very basic code, um, Blueberry, I don't know a Blueberry. If you have some very basic code though that you're wanting to write, uh, that would just take you time to write it, yeah, 100%. Like AI helps in that regard so much. Like being able to speed up that process. Um, I just don't trust it writing everything because the amount of work I'd have to go do to fix everything that it broke, it's not worth it to me. And I don't understand what it's doing by that point. It tries to tell you, it's like, oh, well, I did this to do that and that and that. And it's like, I don't, all right, I don't get it though. I don't get why you did it that way. So that's probably just my mind though. I have a unique mindset, I feel like, that I struggle with how other people perceive the way they attack a problem. It's hard for me to typically to understand. It takes me a while to figure out how someone um, went after something. Uh, wouldn't say I don't get it, but sometimes I just struggle with understanding their perspectives. Even if they're no longer there, like even in programming of PLCs. I always struggle with that in manufacturers. Like I'm trying to run down tags, figure out why a device is doing certain things. Uh, yes, Blackberries. Yeah, I really thought that company would come back. By the way, I thought they would come back a few years ago. I was like, oh yeah, BlackBerry's eventually going to come back. Make a big return. Um, they did not. It was surprising. Let's see. Player manager, base damage, base damage max is equal to support var base damage max. Uh-oh. My bad. I didn't, I didn't know how I got on that. I guess I have some hotkeys. That's interesting. Probably shouldn't be typing then if that's going to be the case. It's funny. Wonder why I seen something flash. Base damage minimum. Well, I guess we'll just say it for now. Base damage. Base damage. There we go. I also have it probably, my mouse probably went up and then clicked on that UI. And so as soon as I hit a key, it probably registered. Got all weird about it. Cool. Still isn't going to be set up, but should hopefully run. Yeah, I figured I'd probably do 0 damage. Makes sense though. I just changed it and the base stats are literally like 0, I think, for everything. So let's do. I'm kind of curious. This is working like I intended. No, it's not talking to the UI at all. Fantastic. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, that's also why you'll see a lot of things like other than commented code. You'll just see things like where I write an attack function and then I don't use it, so I just write a pass on it. What are you doing, man? There it is, a commented pass. Oh goodness. Actually had a long conversation the other day on a chat too about um, Unreal Engine and its unoptimized game files. Had a lot of game development conversations recently, which is really unique for me. I don't feel like I get to have those very often. Usually just talking to my artist and he doesn't understand logic stuff, so he's just like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know, man." Can't blame him though. I mean, every time he sends me something art related, he's like, "Hey, does this look good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess so, man. It looks dope. I guess." I don't know. I don't know. Let's see. Hmm. So he needs his player manager stuff set up. I need to inherit all of that correctly. Yeah, I don't think I could talk very long about pencils and paper textures either. Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely can't. I am uh so far out of that world. He talks about and this is probably just me. I mean, I feel like everybody else probably understands it, but he'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's a line art. You know, that's a line work. I got to do the line art on it, and then I got to do the flats, and then I got to do this, and then I can do the render." And I'm like, "That sounds cool. I don't think I know what any of that really means." And then when I think I do, and I'm like, "Yeah, you should missing the line art." He's like, "What are you talking about? The line art's right there." I'm like, "I thought the line art was like that." He's like, "No, no, that's just sketch." I'm like, "What's the difference? I don't know, man. You do you. I'll just be over here making things function correctly." sucks though because I can't do anything for his comic book other than market it. So that's kind of what I'm responsible for over here is the marketing. Um, I'm the creative director. I think that's what we call it, studio director, something like that. I manage the finances for the studio. I manage our events. Promote everything on social media, and then I'm also the game designer. And he just makes everything look super nice, and that's the only part that everybody typically cares about. So, yeah, it is what it is. This is an intense song. It's making me feel like I need to be playing a 2D platformer or something. I'll tell you what, actually, um, 'cause I do want to showcase this. This is actually really cool. Uh, that game jam we actually entered, there was a game in it, and when they were reviewing the games, they talked about it. I did not think I'd end up playing this game as long as I did, but it was ranked number 5 for playability. And I have to just say, this game seemed weird at first, but after I understood how to play it, man, absolutely just insanity. This person built it in Godot as well, and the only thing they used AI for was translations. Um, but it's like a little gotcha game, um, which was interesting. It was really cool that they put all this in here. Um, you exit it, and the whole thing is just like you have amount of money, and you just sit here and you're trying to fill these. So you just get little uh, items trying to get it, and so you play something else. Hopefully, I get like the thing with that specific color. They'll get a check mark. So like I filled that, and like when you get it, you can click it, and then it gives you like that money. So like 9 gold or whatever these are, 9 coins. I played this thing for like an hour and a half and didn't even realize it. I was like, holy crap. So, really cool little solo game, though. Sometimes I just need pen and paper, pencil and paper. Helps a lot. Very old school about that. I don't feel like I can work out an issue unless I write it down. So, I think I got player manager. Needs to set stats for player fight. And you might be wondering, like, why is there a player fighter and a player? And that's because there was literally 2 different versions. So there's player fighter. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Player fighter. And then there's player. Player is the one that can move around and open doors. And this is the player fighter who actually interacts with the combat UI and has stats on it. Where this one doesn't have stats. Well, it has speed stats, but and I'm thinking that I don't know. We've kind of debated about having the player be able to. I keep hitting that thing, and I apologize. Be able to walk around in the base camp. But there's not really another reason for it. I better get back to work. I'm in Japan, so different time zones. I'm about to get my second win. Oh, that is sick. I learned a little bit of Japanese. Sorry, I learned a little bit of Japan. I learned a little bit of Japanese, and I've always wanted to visit. So that's awesome. Well, good luck. Uh, but yeah, no. Going back to what I was saying, the we really have been trying to figure out if we want to have the player be able to walk around. In fact, though, I want to see where this game goes. Well, I'm trying to keep real about every Wednesday. I probably end up keeping roughly about the same time. So, uh, I was doing it earlier, but I think I'm gonna move it to later. It just ends up being easier for me. Hope to see you again, though. Thanks for stopping by. Uh, so if we can have the player walk around this map and interact with different sections as you unlock them, that'd be cool. But is it worth having, like, this would be the only area you'd walk around with a character? And it's almost like, is it worth it? Or should we just have buttons almost like this? And it doesn't really make sense. I think that's one of the parts that we're struggling with. But I think for now, what we're going to do is we're just going to make it buttons. Because we can always add a player later and just make those sections interactable. So we're just going to make it buttons. That's why those buttons are kind of just floating on the screen like they are right now. Eventually, we're going to have, obviously, art. And some of these sections are going to be, like, locked. And then they'll unlock as time goes on. And then they'll become buttons that you can actually click. And you'll be able to open up those screens and do whatever. But it's just kind of one of them things, like, is there really a point in adding the ability for the player to walk around only in this one scene? They won't walk around anywhere else in the game. At least not right now. So it's almost like it doesn't really make much sense. Like, because the fastest a character is gonna walk, you could easily click on it a lot faster. Is what it is. I don't know. We debated on that one a few times. I'm not sure where we're gonna end up on it, but it's easier to add than it is to take away. In my opinion, I'd rather have it set up for buttons and then add players later to interact with it than do it the other way around. So, let's see. Player manager needs to tell the player fighter to set stats. That's what we're going to be doing. And once the player manager sets the player's fighter stats, well, I mean, you're pretty much golden on the fight scenes there. There's not much else to do aside from add companions, which I am not going to do anytime soon, in my opinion. I think the next phase of this is getting the base camp set up. So we're going to get the base camp set up. Missions button should open overlay. So we're going to get that. We're going to get that mission button to open the overlay so we can select a mission and then change scenes. Oh, no, that's not right. You're not going to change scenes after you select the mission. That wouldn't make sense. You have to go to the shuttle. So we're going to say that the mission select prepares scene change. It's going to be like a staging thing. We're going to stage the scene change so that when we go to the shuttle button, it'll open your loadout. So we'll say shuttle button. And we'll probably, for ease of use at first, we'll probably just set, I don't know, we might add it. I might add it in there, or try to. But shuttle button will open scene for loadout. Once done, change to fight scene with selected enemy. Actually, you know, I'm thinking about it now. We don't even need to prepare a scene. The scene will always be pretty much... Okay, well, that's not technically true. The scene will change over time as the story progresses. But we won't always need to prepare a scene. We may only need to prepare a fighter. So we can just have a stat that says select fight, and we'll just pass that along. When the shuttle is when you select done or something on the shuttle, like deploy or something, and when you hit that, we'll just pass in those arguments, and then we'll spawn up that scene with those specific characters in mind. I think that would work potentially. I think so. Or we'll just hard code the scenes to where they'll have each character, but that'd be a lot of scenes. I wouldn't want to do that. Sounds really complicated. Alrighty. Well, let's see. I think honestly, this is probably a good stopping point for tonight. So I appreciate everybody who was hanging out or watching. As I kind of worked on a little bit of this and just talked through some design choices and stuff about what's going on with this game. Next week, I'm going to keep pushing on this project, but I hope by then maybe I have the player stats set up and then maybe some stuff with the base camp so we can kind of showcase where we're at so far. And we can go forward from there. Because again, this has to be done by the end of May. And while we do have March and April, it's only 2 months. Well, technically 3. It's the end of May, so but I'd like to have it done well before then because I have another game that I'm working on. So again, I do appreciate it. Tune in next Wednesday, and then we should be having another stream here before too long. That's a studio update. So just kind of check out our socials, and I encourage you to follow along with us as we build the Nullified series and this game and our studio. So, thanks. Have a good one.